Hello and welcome to Foxhole Feed, episode 33. Lots of news to go over, but like always, start this out off with the community news. Lots of stuff going on Foxhole channel. We got Broken Age being put up. We got the first two parts of Resident Evil Zero HD put up. I may or may not have a review for that. I may not, considering I don't necessarily want to do reviews of re-releases. I mean, how I feel about the game, decade plus ago, it's not necessarily going to change with this re-release. But I'll think about it. That's in the cards of a maybe. Since it's been a long time. Yeah, now we got lots of news to cover. Lots of news regarding Hideo Kojima. It's been on a little touring spree with studios. Lots of releases on PSN, some oldies getting re-released, PS2 games getting put on there, and yeah, lots of some Shenmue news, lots of Japanese news, lots of good news. You guys stay tuned. Now, Hideo Kojima has been in the news lately once again. How can he not be? So Hideo Kojima, interesting news story here, is in talks with J.J. Abrams. So it shows, a picture over here down here of Hideo Kojima talking to J.J. Abrams regarding his new studio. Now, we're not really sure what J.J. Abrams may have to do with it. We have heard that he wants to get into gaming. We've heard he wants to do a game, but we're not sure in what respect. I mean, I've heard him use the term direct, but it's like, it's not the same thing. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. I mean, unless he's talking about David Cage, like S direct, like I want to do a game, but it's like more of a narrative walking sort of thing. He needs to get paired with a real director like Kojima. I think it could be a good pairing if he comes in as like executive producer, but Kojima directs the game, because I don't think, clearly Abrams doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But it's cool to see them sort of get together, and I wonder what this means for, J.J. Abrams' like secret project thing he's working on, or if it's just Kojima extending his, hand. Now, more Kojima news, since, it's all Kojima all the time going on now. Earlier this week, Kojima has started off some 10-day tour with Mark Cerny, the guy who's directed Knack, and he also is like the lead architect behind the PlayStation 4. So him kind of going with Kojima and having this whole little tour of like Sony Studios is kind of awesome. Kojima was actually at Naughty Dog's like motion capture studio. I'm not sure if So Toyota was there. So Toyota is the animator of the Metal Gear Solid series. I believe he might have directed like the Metal Gear Solid Acid games. No, everything I've read hasn't said whether he's there or not. I suspect, yeah, he probably would be there to see how they do their motion capture and animation stuff, and I want to know what that means. Now, we don't really know to what capacity, with the exception of publishing, that Sony's doing for Kojima. The fact that he's at Sony Studios might possibly mean that maybe Sony, in some respect, is kind of trying to sugar him up, and they're probably he might want to buy the IP. And I've said this numerous times that if Hideo Kojima is gonna have a game with Sony and he's gonna publish it, that it can't just merely be that's it. Like there's no strings attached. Something tells me there's strings attached, and they might have got locked in a deal for him to own the IP and them to publish. But something tells me they're trying to wiggle their way to say we'll fund the whole project if you let us have the IP, or give you some sort of freedom. Who knows? Something's telling me that they're trying to convince him of something, and it's why he's out there at these studios. But then again, Kojima's a fan of developers. He was at Infinity Ward Studios before the Call of Duty team. So Kojima's a has lots of respect and admiration for lots of developers. He's good friends with Hideki Kamiya, the Devil May Cry director. So he's good friends with lots of people in the gaming community, and he's always open and welcomes, all this collaborative, ideas. He's talked with the dudes at GTA with Sam and Dan Houser. So it's clear that he's a people person and he wants to talk with other creators. So maybe that's what it is, and maybe I'm looking too deeply into it. So yeah, Kojima's been very busy. How this is going to do with his next game, we're not sure. Now, the thing I can tell you of what I know about his next game, based on one of the main artists of the Resident Evil team, of the Metal Gear Solid team that has created all the main character art, is that it has to do with mechs. That's all we know. Something with mechs. So that's awesome. Could be spiritual successor to Zone of Enders. I'm hoping that it's Zone of Enders 3-esque in terms of being a sequel to it, because technically speaking, it could be something that's with mechs that's pretty much is Zone of Enders, considering that game doesn't necessarily, neither of the two games really have much to do with each other, with the exception of maybe one or two things. But be on the lookout for Kojima announcing whatever this game might be. It could be next year, could be the year after, who knows. Now, this is sort of news. This is sort of not. I think everybody sees this more so as an inevitability. Now, Fallout 4, favorite games released last year. Fallout 3, last generation, had its, I wouldn't even call it a side game. It was more so a sequel. I could never call it a side game. Had its sequel, Fallout New Vegas, which I really, really love. And everyone, if you love Fallout, you love New Vegas too. New Vegas is one of these really, really, really well-crafted games, and is a great complement to Fallout 3. And in some respects, some people like it better than 3. I personally like 3, but I get why people might like Vegas more. Now, Obsidian, one of the developers from Obsidian, states that I would be welcome, or I would be down with working on another Fallout. So maybe this is an invitation for the team to make, a Fallout game, as maybe getting 2 Fallout games is going to be the norm of every generation. Sure. So I hope that does happen, considering we kind of got Fallout faster in this generation than we technically did last generation. So we got Fallout, I want to say it was 2008, ending 2008, or it might have even been 2009. So we got it years within the generation started. We got it like a good 3-4 years. Where we're getting this one in, year and a half, 2 years into the gaming generation, we're getting a Fallout game. So maybe we'll get possibly a Fallout 5 at the ending of this generation. Maybe they have enough room to squeeze one out. Who knows? It depends on how everything goes, because we know their other half of Bethesda has to be working on, Elder Scrolls 6. That probably had been worked on for a while now. But yeah, so Obsidian doing another Fallout game, I'm very welcome to that. The thing that's weird about this is maybe the team saying this means that they're not currently. That's the only thing that's worrying about this, is it possibly might mean that the team's currently not doing it, which is, upsetting. But hopefully he's just trolling and they've been working on one the whole time. But yeah, definitely would like more Fallout. To all my JRPG fans out there, Dark Cloud 2 is now on the PlayStation 4. You guys could all pick it up in the PSN if you feel like it. It's about $11, 11 and some change, 11.29 or something like that. All you need to know is it's like in the ballpark of $11. I don't know what it's going to be in pounds in terms of European fans. I know I got a lot of fans from Europe that actually watch our channel. I do not know what that would be in terms of a price difference. Now it's $11 on sale. On sale as of this taping, I believe. So it's probably going to be 14 or $15 brand new, $11 on sale. Yeah, pick it up if you're a big RPG fan. Dark Cloud 2 is a pretty good game, back in the gens back, and then guys, help yourself pick it up. It's going to be 1080p, 60 frames per second, and it's going to come with trophies. I did not read anything else besides that. So Shenmue 3 getting some screenshots. Yay! So Shenmue 3 getting some screenshots. Shenmue 3 announced last year, coming on the PlayStation 4 and PC. It is running on the Unreal Engine 4. And oh my goodness, hype game. Very excited for it. Always happy to hear anything regarding his development. Yeah, so here we have Rio and his little, girlfriend here. I don't really think that's his girlfriend at all, but one of the characters in the game. And get to see some nighttime stuff. Shows off some lighting, which looks really good. So I like what I'm seeing with it. Next screenshot here. You kind of see some like fog and some like water stuff, and looks really good. I like what I'm seeing with everything. And this screenshot, this was actually the first screenshot that was actually shown from this. Yeah, shows Rio chilling. Nice little water. Everything. I like what I see. I think it's fine and it's okay for what it is. I'm actually kind of fine with that. But of course, I'm happy for any new screenshots that they show Shenmue 3. I'm 100% happy. I'll link to the bottom so you guys can check out the natives of these screenshots. Put them in your background, fantasize about them, get really pissed off because it's not coming tomorrow. So to all my JRPG fans, Valkyria Chronicles Remastered, announced last year. Big deal. All love the series so much. Valkyria Chronicles Remastered coming to the PlayStation 4 in Japan. Apparently could be coming to the West. So Sega has their little, PC channel. I don't even want to say it's a PC channel because that's not necessarily... No, Sega Europe. Sega Europe has a channel and it released a video. And this video, part of it was talking about that next week Sega has... the possibility of announcing something regarding it coming to the West. So it's either not going to announce no. So I think it's safe to say that the remaster is coming to the West. If you consider the PC version and the PlayStation 3 version came to the West, it wouldn't shock me that the remaster were to come to the West as well. This is good news. So to anyone who's a fan of this series, I'm not saying go out and pick it up. I don't necessarily 100% advocate every person just rebuy the games that they bought last year. But if you want to sit there and show that you are still vocal about this series, I don't think that this has much to do with whether or not they'll port the fourth title over to the West. I believe the fourth title is likely coming to the West, and I think that the decision would have been made long prior to this. It's most likely coming to the West so they could make more money. As for the fourth one coming here, who knows? But I believe they likely made a decision probably long ago whether they would or wouldn't. But considering they're bringing Yakuza 5 over here, or Yakuza 5's already here, and they're bringing 0 over here, it's very likely that they might bring it over. Who knows? You never really know what's Sega. So keeping fingers crossed. This sounds like 100% confirmation though. Star Wars Battlefront is going to be getting some new DLC. Last month, or it would have been last month. Last month it got the Battle of Jakku, I want to say it is. Last month I got a Battle of Jakku for free. It gives you a couple of maps. This month we're getting new DLC as well. They're getting a new Tatooine map, new outfits for Luke and Princess Leia. This comes courtesy of some briefing that they shared from EA Brazil. So yeah, getting more free content for this game. I know many people were worried about the content that was coming out for this game, and yeah, it seemed to be releasing more and more maps every month. I don't know how long this is going to continue prior to them announcing what's going to be any paid season pass stuff or any other paid DLC stuff. I assume they probably had some maps and certain modes that they were working on that they want to continue to move out. So I don't know how long this is going to continue for. Who knows? But new content is always good stuff. Unfortunately, I do not have... there was a video that got pulled by EA. EA doesn't want everybody seeing this. Yeah, so it was removed by EA. But I got a little picture on the bottom. That's not even Tatooine. Yeah, you know what? We have a picture of Tatooine, guys. We have a picture of Tatooine. Just don't worry about it. Now, a VR title that I briefly touched up on. I don't even know if this is 100% VR, if it's some of it VR, but I know this to be a big VR title. Now, Overkill's The Walking Dead. This was announced all the way August 2014. Wow, really? That is a long time. August 2014. I touched upon it a little bit last year regarding, what they were doing with the VR. And apparently they today announced a release date of 2017. It doesn't even sound like a release date as much as like a release window, 2017. I don't know how I feel about this. I worry because maybe the development's too much for the team. I like Starbreeze. Starbreeze, has done, great things regarding them as a team. Now, they're not, to my understanding, I believe they're publishing it. And now that, Overkill's part of their team, it's not necessarily the same team that did Payday, 1 or 2, or any of the stuff Overkill has done, as much as it sounds like. Well, I don't know that for sure. I mean, I'm assuming that it is Overkill themselves that are doing it, because it is clearly called Overkill's Walking Dead. So that Starbreeze purchased them, and maybe, they're working on it. I would assume so, because they're publishing this game, and what I'm reading is they're publishing, distributing, but they're not developing, and Overkill's developing. But I don't know. So hopefully, Starbreeze is also working on it, because I loved everything they've done with the Darkness 1 and 2, and Chronicles of Riddick, in my personal opinion, is easily one of the greatest video game adaptations from a film probably ever. You know what? I might say Alien Isolation is, but still, so close to release with the Chronicles of Riddick film. That was still something that's amazing. That's still a great game if you guys ever get in the mood to pick up and play a really, really short first-person shooter experience. Check out Chronicles of Riddick. It might actually, I believe they re-released it on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. If you guys feel like picking it up, the game still holds up even like 10 plus years later. It wasn't even 10 plus years. It actually been longer, probably 12 years, 13 years. A long time ago. But the game is delayed. Overkill's Walking Dead game is coming out 2017 now. Boo. Maybe they need more work on VR. Maybe there'll be more people who own VR headsets. The only sad part about this is more people own VR headsets that are not the one Starbreeze is currently working on. It's exclusive to their little Star VR thingy-majigger, but I don't necessarily. Yeah, well, they're saying it's exclusive, so it may not mean. I don't know if you could tweak it to work with anything else. Ubisoft going out to do a little marketing for The Division. They teamed up with a company called Vice. Vice, if you guys know their videos on YouTube, they do lots of documentaries. They team up with Ubisoft. Ubisoft basically, I want to say, gave money, did something to market a series called The Infected, and it's like a 3-part series. And it's basically, them going around the world talking with scientists and mathematicians and neurologists and all these crazy people to ask them what would happen if a pandemic really hit here. I like this. This is a great idea for marketing a game like The Division. My only issue with it might be that The Division's not necessarily 100% about that. Now, Craig and I had done a podcast talking about, advertising, not necessarily an entire podcast, but more so talking about like day one purchases. And one of the things we talked about concerning day one purchases is the conveyance of a game. Some new IPs are difficult to convey, therefore you may not purchase those things day one. And we went on a little tangent, but a very interesting tangent, talking about advertising and marketing of a title. When is marketing of it too much? The difficult thing of marketing a game is that you have to tell somebody what you're going to be doing in this game. Something doesn't really mean the same thing you might think it means in regards to a game, because you don't just visually see things happening in a game, you physically play stuff in a game. So they might tell you in the marketing, and this is true by the way, that part of the Division is about you surviving this thing, but in reality there's nothing in the hallmarks you're surviving. You're not necessarily looting for food. I don't recall you're looting for water, and I look these things up to see what are you really getting that would allow a human being to survive. You think of what you would need. Maybe you have to get, certain layers of clothing to stay warm. Maybe you have to get certain number of food rations per day to stay alive. Maybe you have to get water every X number of places to stay alive in terms of a meter. Something, but that's not in this game. So from what I've seen people playing on the alpha, and what I've been reading, that's not what this game is. So sometimes these companies need to be very careful about using those terms, because you're not really just using the broader term surviving. Any fucking game you're going to be surviving in. Period. Any game. Unless the fucking goal of the game is to kill yourself. Every game in some broad generalization respect, you will be surviving. But in The Division, when they tell you something like this, you're thinking, oh my god, cool, so it's going to be like The Last of Us. Oh, okay, so it's going to be like Fallout. That's what people are thinking, because you're using that term, you're telling them it's this pandemic and it's a big thing that's going on. In reality, that's not 100% of what's going on. It's not even that much part of the game. It's part of the narrative of the game, maybe if the narrative exists in the game, in that respect, but it's not necessarily part of the gameplay. You will not be surviving this game like Evil Within, where you have limited life, limited ammo, limited everything. That's not the case with this game. So I don't, really want anyone to believe that. I think this is a great idea for them to say, hey, look, here's a little documentary about pandemics and stuff to get you psyched up about The Division. I think this further confuses people. I think it's a cool idea to market, the game in this respect, but you need something else to market the game to convey properly what it really is. Hopefully that beta will be it. Hopefully whatever they do with it. I personally felt that they should have had a complete open beta before this game's release. It did wonders for Star Wars Battlefront. The sales of this game went ridiculous because of that. Everyone got to play it. If you don't know what it is, you'll fucking know what it is the day it comes out. So I think that for a game like The Division, it's best that everybody be on the same page of what exactly it is. At the end of the day, this is an interesting documentary. I don't know if it helps if you're confused about The Division is. It might even further confuse you if you don't know what it is, because I got a good grasp on what it is. I could enjoy the documentary for what it's trying to tell you. I'll leave a link on the bottom for you guys to check it out. I love all of Vice's stuff, and if you're interested in pathogens and diseases and infections and viruses and any of these things that could possibly be contagious and have widespread crazy things, if you're interested in that type of stuff, look it up. Interesting documentary. If you're interested in The Division, I don't know if I can tell you to watch it if you want to know what it is. There are a whole bunch of other videos I'd rather link to tell you what The Division is than this. Now, I covered this game a bit last year. Everybody's been questioning what's going on with this game, and yeah, I'm questioning it too. Hitman, now confirmed. Hitman, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, now a proper episodic game. Now, prior to this, it was a purchase it for $60. You get six locations or 6 hits, maybe it was 3 locations, 6 hits, but you get X number of hits through your locations, and then the rest of the stuff is going to come later throughout the year in terms of DLC. Now, this, mind you, was going to be full price, and then the rest of the stuff would come later. I was fine with that because most of the times it's what you do in Hitman game versus how long it's going to be in a Hitman game. It's not something that, I don't think time matters as much. I think it's one of these things where the hits that you do, in terms of how creative you are, and I've seen people on my Steam list for real that have like 100+ hours in some of these Hitman games, so they spend a lot of time doing the different hits. So the number of hits doesn't worry me because of all the different ways I found you can do these hits. I'm not that worried. I wasn't before last year regarding when I was talking about this game. I wasn't that worried because of that, because I don't really think that really shows the true value of a game. That's difficult to sort out. You understand what I mean? It's hard to tell this to someone who, hears it in a different respect. Consider it's almost like saying if they told you were getting a GTA game and the GTA game was smaller than GTA 3 or something like that, but it wasn't as big as 5 or San Andreas, but it was more dense than those games. You could enter more buildings. I could understand the quality in such a thing. So it's not as much about the content in terms of how much. It's what can I do? How long would it take me to do a hit? And if I have more ways of doing a hit, I'm actually more curious about that quality than I care about the number of hits. I like what I've seen from it. Now, going on, before it was $60. You get 6 hits and you got DLC. That was going to be free for like a year or something. They were going to give out all these things and then stop it. Now, essentially what they're doing now, which I think is a better idea, as opposed to just fully delaying it, now it's going to be a proper, episodic game in terms of being released episode per episode. Now, before you get upset, start crying, saying, oh my god, what happened? Now, there's still an actual game that's coming at the beginning of this year that is a full game that's still coming this fall, in which you could purchase if you don't feel like purchasing it in this method. Now, it's going to cost $60 for the full game. You could buy the full digital version, which is like the season pass for the Walking Dead games or Life is Strange or anything, and you just basically get all the content as the days they come, months and months that they decide to come. Now, you could also just wait till it comes out as a full thing and just buy it for $60, either digital or physical. It's coming out with the, digital as a final thing, and also as a physical version as the final thing as well. Now, the cost of this is going to be £49.99 for you guys in Europe, $60 for us for the full thing. For anyone in the United States, any of my peoples who watch from the US, it's going to be $60 for us, and it's going to be £44 or £45 for Europeans, 45 euros, pounds. Now, the prologue and for the Paris mission and the prologue, which is like the first intro pack, is going to be $15 or £11. Later, the locations will be $10 or £8. So basically, you could kind of purchase this any order you feel like it. It's all adding up to $60 anyway, so I don't know how much it really matters in which respect you purchase this. Before any outrage comes up regarding the method in which this game is coming out on, remember, you don't need to buy it this way. Now, you could also get this other thing that adds everything that's like $50, which is, 36 pounds or something, which still, adds up to, ballpark of the same thing of what you've actually paid for. So you're able to basically get all the rest of the stuff you're getting for around the same price. I'm not sure what the prologue is, but the prologue actually sounds like it's the thing you get. It's the missions you get for pre-ordering this on PlayStation or something like that. There's something you get that you get for pre-ordering it on PlayStation, and one of the missions I think is this weird prologue thing before like prequel thingy-majigger, which I'm not sure what it is. And it sounds like that's actually what that thing is. Now, you could wait, or you could purchase it in pieces now. Many people are up in arms about this, and the only thing I could say to multiple people is the final game, in any respect, was never even going to release in March. It was never going to release last year. To my understanding, the final of this game was always going to be a long ways off, like ending of this year. It was never actually going to be anything last year or this year or beginning of this year. It was never going to be March. So it was always going to release at the ending of next year. Don't fret. Don't worry. I know many people are worried, and many people are in this like heightened state of like fear that this game is episodic. But at the end of the day, you were never even going to get this game in terms of a full thing this March anyway, so you might as well get it at the ending of this year. I don't really understand the either hate or concern when at the end of the day, the people who are giving their feedback through the live events and through whatever feedback system that they have are helping you get a better game by the time this fall comes anyway. So this is a great thing for everyone. It's not this thing that's going to hurt anyone. It's good for everybody. This is good news. It's a win-win for the publisher. It's a win-win for everybody that's involved. Now, I purchased a couple of games just as the final thing. I didn't just go ahead and, buy it as like episode per episode. The Walking Dead Season 2, I did that with. I waited for maybe 3 episodes with Season 1, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I actually just decided to wait for all the episodes with, Season 2. I chose to do that. Now, that's not saying, oh man, I hate that it's episodic. There's nothing I can do about it being episodic. What I can do is wait. If I don't feel like having to go through that, I could just wait. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I don't want anybody to go on this strange understanding that something's being taken away from you, or you could have got it at another date. It's like, no, you're still getting a final game. Most games are made in this structure anyway. So even when people say, well, it's going to be episodic in nature and how it's done, Alan Wake was, yet you fucking lived. I mean, consider Metal Gear Solid 4 was also told in chapters. Metal Gear Solid 5 is told in these kind of ways, mission by mission. What if it was released that way? I don't think this is a bad thing, and I don't think people should worry about it. Games cost too much money as it is, and I don't want to say they cost too much money, but they cost too much money to develop as it is in terms of AAA. And if they want to, have different methods for you to buy the game, that is a good thing for everyone. Life is Strange actually came out with a disc-based version. If you want to buy the disc-based version of Life is Strange, that's fine. Consider that Life is Strange on the channel you guys are watching it on, Life is Strange was filmed by me basically after the fourth episode came out. I chose to play it when the fourth, just a little bit, well, months after the fourth one came out. I chose to play it then. So I began to play episode 1, 2, 3, and by the time I even started episode 4, it was the day the fifth episode released. So at the end of the day, I never really played it in a method of waiting. I wanted to do it in one sitting. So over the course of a week or so, I ended up playing most of Life is Strange, but that's my choice to do so. If you don't want to buy something episodically, merely don't buy it episodically. Most games, I'm going to repeat this one more time, most games are released in terms of when you play it, in terms of the structure. Most games you play are structured in this quest by quest, mission by mission, do this, do that, get out of here type of structure. Resident Evil series has been done that way since 4, 5, 6 all go along that series. Revelations went along that same path of being cut into those little parts, and Revelations 2 was released this way. But I never played Revelations 2 episodically. I just purchased it as a disc. But it's a great thing to say if you want to try it out, if you want to play the game. It's $5, it's $10. You could try it if you like it. For those who want to wait till the final thing comes out, wait till the final thing comes out. This doesn't kill you. This doesn't hurt you. This is doing absolutely nothing to you. So don't worry about it. Don't cry about it. It has nothing to do with anybody who wants to play it when it finally, as a final thing. You could just wait if you want to play it as a final thing. I don't think this is stopping it from being a final thing suddenly when the data rises for it to be a final thing. So I think people are kind of worried about nothing. This is a good thing. I've read several people say, on the contrary, they would play this game. I've heard them say, yeah, I would buy Hitman. I was never into the series, but if it's for a cheaper price. You hear what they're saying? They're saying they're going to give the publisher money for a part of the game so they could try it, because they're not sure if they'll like it or not, but they would pay $15 for a smaller chunk to say, hey, maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. That's not bad. That's fucking great. In my eyes, I hear that as money. I hear that as somebody is buying this game, they're giving a fuck, and they might say, wow, I really like this series. I never bought it for $60 full price, but maybe, just maybe, I'll buy full price with this game. That's a great thing. If somebody feels that they want to purchase this game because they were introduced to it in this method, that does nothing but help the install base. Hell, it helps the Hitman fans, because you're now getting more people playing a game you like that gives you more sequels to the game. That's nothing but a good thing. So I'm not into this, let's pay $60 for a game and we don't know the condition it's in. Nobody wants to go through that gamble of paying that much money and they end up not really liking it. So when you read somebody say for $15 they're going to try Hitman, that's saying for $15 I want to be introduced to this series, this franchise that you guys love, because I don't want to pay $60 for something I'm not used to. That's a good thing. This helps everybody in this respect, and I think maybe some people are kind of going overboard with the worry and the fear, because I've never heard anything concrete on anyone's fears. I've even read deeply all of Square Enix information that they've laid out for this game, and I've never read the game was created with the understanding that it was episodic, as in it was episodic and it needed to be. I've never read anything that said it was dependent on being episodic for it to continue. I haven't read anything like that. From what I'm reading is that they already have some of these missions made. They already have some of the hits made. They're just choosing to release it in this format, if not to gauge fan interest, to see what they could change and feed through feedback. At the end of the day, you still get a final game. The people who want to try it get to try it. This is a good thing. I want to personally see more games try this to get more people involved to purchasing these games in this order. If you don't want to purchase this way, hey, do like me. I purchased season 2 of The Walking Dead when all of the seasons were released. I purchased, Life is Strange around the same time when 5 was coming out, with the understanding I just wanted to play them all in a couple sittings. If you want to play that way, that's completely fine.
if Alan Wake was released this way, I don't think it would kill anybody. If you consider the structure of the game is already that, by default, that's what the structure is of the game. So if they decided to say, hey, Alan Wake 2 is being released this way, I wouldn't care. It wouldn't hurt me because, hey, wait a year and then play the final thing if that's what you want. But at the ending of the day, I don't think how anybody else is playing it should matter. We all have to wait for games. This is a thing that all gamers should already know, that you're waiting for games anyway. We're always waiting for games. As a gamer, it's the one thing you know how to do, and it's wait. So if you could wait through all the years of all these games that they take to come out, believe me, you could wait. What is it? November? Hitman's coming out? November as a final thing? Yeah, you could wait until November to play the final thing if you feel like not being involved with the episodic stuff. So, with that being said, after saying our little baby rant regarding Hitman, I'm still actually going to be buying Hitman, and I will be in the beta. Going to pre-order it. We'll be inside of the beta to show you guys everything inside of the game. Also going to be pre-ordering The Division to show you the beta of that game, so stay tuned for all of that. And, yeah, that's game.